Howdy gents, and welcome to NFS. Today we're going to take a look at my Lego 2012 Lamborghini Sesto Elemento, also known as Sesto Elemento in English. Let us jump right into the video. So first off, I would like to start off and say, if you hear an echo in the background, it's because I just moved and I am very limited in my resources, so I don't have anything to dampen the echo in my surrounding environment at the moment. But hopefully you can still be able to hear my voice clearly as I get ready to showcase my Sesto Elemento to you guys, which have been on hold for approximately almost 2 years now due to real life situations that I'm not going to disclose to the public. So this is the second Lamborghini MOC that I have created so far, and it is one of the most difficult, sophisticated or complicated designs that I had to deal with, and especially when it comes to figuring out the height, the silhouette, the taper around the front to the back, all that good stuff. So we are going to showcase the car. We're going to show you the functions, the features, and what makes this car stand out. So with that being said, we are going to showcase the whole car to you guys, and then I'm going to give you a NFS score based on the building difficulty, the level of detail, and how long it takes to build it, possibly if you have all the pieces, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Now, as I have said earlier, this Lamborghini Sesto Elemento has an extreme level of detail to it. You can see it on the curves, you can see it on the back, you can see it just about anywhere when you look at this model car. So we're gonna start with the obvious, which is the flag pieces that I used down here as part of the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento's diffuser part. And you can't see it from here, but there's like let me turn it over so you can see it. So this is like one of those Lego City spoilers that is commonly used on city cars or supercars for Lego City car scale vehicles. But I use this piece simply because I like it to not only cover up the whole, all the extra stuff underneath the vehicle, but I also want to taper up toward the flag pieces, and then the flag pieces just finish it off, just going on both sides, just covering it up and just giving that iconic diffuser look for the Sesto Elemento. Now up here you can see that I've used like a 1x4 tile piece with these two 1x2 round plates finished off with these slope edges, and I just used this little piece here to just connect it to the back, and it's connected by a 1x2 plate with C-clips. You just put this bumper onto the C-clip and then just tilt it up, and it just locks it in place. It doesn't go anywhere unless you're a little rough with it, then it'll just come off. And speaking of coming off, the C-clip piece is also held by some half circle pieces. I don't even know the names to them, but it's held by some half circle pieces that are just holding that modified plate in place. So if you get a little too rough with it, it's just gonna come off. So the car is basically just a model car. And basically this is all my cars going forward. It's just gonna be built to model scale quality is what I'm trying to say. Now originally we was going to use a 1x1 plate with the teeth piece. I think that's what you call it, but we were going to use it as a tail light for it because it's got the little curvature feature on the trans red piece. But then I realized that I didn't have enough room, so I had to use like 1x1 round studs that is trans red, and they worked perfectly. I mean, I didn't think it would work at first, but looking at it now, it was the best choice to go with. This spoiler that you see on the back is connected to some clips, and it's clipped down by another clip, and that clip is connected to a rigid hose, which is then connected to another clip that clips into the engine bay of the car. Won't get into any details a lot of details because it's very, very complicated. I had maximized the amount of space that I have in the back simply because I want the clamshell to be removable, which by the way it is. We will get to that here in a second. So to remove the clamshell, you first have to remove the spoiler, which is very easy to do. You can just tilt it down and then just pull it out. And then of course you see these two exhaust pieces. They were cut down in size. These are rigid hose pieces. Again, I ran out of space to include the exhaust piece that can be brick built, so I just went with the rigid hose, cut them down in size, and then put them on some clip pieces and then tilt them up a little bit. With the spoiler out of the way, you can now see that there's another clip piece that looks exactly like this, but it's black. It's connected to the engine bay, and it's actually not connected to a T-bar. It's connected by another rigid hose, which is again cut down to size to where it just allows it to fit, but will still create enough room for me to put the clamshell into place without any interference. Just pull these two up gently. Make sure this is at an angle. You don't want to pull it straight up and you don't want to pull it straight out. You basically can't pull it up vertically and you can't pull it horizontally. You literally have to pull it out in a parallel manner. So to do that, you just lift this up by the mud guards and you just simply pull it at a 30-degree angle, which would reveal a clean interior of the engine bay. So you can clearly see how nice and detailed the engine bay really looks. It's got a little bit of the red highlights, the silver accents here and there, but overall it's just the beauty of this model car. I'm really, really happy with it. And you can see how all of this is made up. Down here you can see like minifig hands that are used, like those little tiny bars that you see on a real car. I can replicate them to be in a triangular shape, but the minifig hands got the job done. So suffice to say, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. These are Technic pieces that are used to hold the wheels in place because again, I wanted my clamshell to be removable. And while I have the clamshell out, I will show you something that makes it a bit weird. When the clamshell is removed, you will notice that this whole vent piece with the red accents on the back is horizontal. On the car, it was like angled a bit, but that's because they are held on by one round studs, and those studs is what's holding it in place right now. There's nothing else holding it in place, no hinge pieces, nothing. It's just holding it in place, and when you take it off the vehicle, it naturally just goes into a horizontal position. So you got to really be careful with handling this piece because again, it's held on by, you see, this is what I'm talking about. These half circle pieces is what's holding this in place, and this is held on by 1x2 round plates. And if you were a little rough with it, like what I just did, was a little too rough with it, it will come off. So you got to be very gentle with this. So another reason why I went with the half circle tile pieces is because I wanted these to be angled a bit, like pushing it to the edge to where when it reaches its maximum capacity, it will just stick this out a little bit. So that was the reason why I used the half circle tile pieces. Like I said, I don't even know the exact name to them, but yeah, you can see that I used like a minifig shield too, and it's because I wanted this to be smooth. I didn't want to use like a plate or anything else because I want to keep it as thin as possible, so that way it'll just leave a bit of room for the center piece, which is the vent part of the car. I wanted to leave it a bit of room for it to just slope up when you reconnect the clamshell back onto the car. The whole assembly comes off, which includes the tail lights, the exhaust pieces, the bumper, everything. And it only leaves behind the engine bay, which again looks really, really clean and really detailed, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. You can see that I used like rigid hoses to just have the side part of the car tapered down into the engine bay, and that's because I didn't have any other piece to do it. And even if I had like a dark bluish gray bar available, it would still just taper down to the car a bit, you know, it would just go down there straight, but I wanted to go down in a curve, like with the curvature feet. So I didn't want to use the bar because it just goes straight down into the car, but it just, the rigid hose is just, it just gets the job done, and it's held on by 4 clips, 2 at the top and 2 into the engine bay. You can't really see it until you turn it around like this, and then they're just like right there. Seats are built into the engine bay. That means they are not movable. They are literally built into the engine bay. The building process of how I did it is really, really complicated, and I'm not gonna go into it, but just know that the actual car has seats built into them, so they're not movable. They are fixed in position, and I decided to go that route with doing the exact same thing for the car, and it turned out really, really good. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So to reattach, again, if the camera looks a bit dim, please ignore it because I don't have an overhead light to fix it at the moment, so I'm relying on my phone's brightener to fix it for me. To reattach the clamshell, you have to again make sure you come in at a 30-degree angle and make sure that this gap is available for this piece to go through. And you just gently put it down there. And then this, like I said, the centerpiece will be horizontal when you remove it. It'll just slope up automatically, and that's because it's held on by 2 1x1 round studs with holes in them. Make sure too that these tile pieces are lined up along the sides of the slopes, and you just gently push it down. You don't push hard on it, just gently push it down to where it's fixed in place, and then you just close the back off with these 2 1x6 tile pieces connected to clip pieces that are connected to bar pieces. It's complicated, I'm not going to go into it, but that's how it functions. And you reattach the spoiler. Make sure this is still up, like at a slope or at an angle, so that you can reattach the spoiler onto the back of the car. Now, for those of you wondering, yes, I have been paying attention to the Lego car community and Speed Champions as well. I am aware that there are new pieces coming out, which is the new slope pieces. I think those are wedge tile pieces that look exactly like these up here on the back, but they don't have studs on them. And with the newly released Chem Block set coming out in June, which is this summer, I am looking forward to changing out the spoiler and the front of the car, which would maximize the level of detail for both the Sesto Elemento and the police variant. And I am looking at getting the Ferrari pieces too, so I can change the slope, or not slope, the wedge pieces off the police car as well. It's going to maximize the level of detail for both of these cars. Now we take a look at the sides here. You can see how this is partially connected to a 1x8 tile piece. By the way, this is held on by a 3386 piece. I still don't even know the name to that piece officially, but I'm calling it by its number. It's held on, literally held on by 1 connection point, which is a 3386 piece. I'll show you on the screen here, so if you guys don't know what I'm talking about. I had very limited room left for another piece, like another connection point, and I want to leave the room for the vents because, you know, I want the doors to taper into the car with the vents exposed. And this is like really on the edge of maximizing the level of detail when it comes to having the side vents on the vehicle. There's a lot of connection points, a lot of, you know, rigid hose uses that I'm not going to get into. Again, this car is like really, really complicated, and I'm trying to keep the video short and sweet. So I'd rather just show you the car, the function, the aesthetics of the car, and just be on my merry way. Also look at the difference between the driver's side, which is this piece right here, and the passenger side that has those little 2 red highlights or accents. I don't know if those are gas intake pieces, but I included that detail as well, simply because, you know, I'm a detail fanatic when it comes to building Lamborghini cars and any other car for that matter, really. Now, I am aware also that there are new windscreen pieces, so I am looking to replace this windscreen with something else so I don't have this little wording up here. I want to show you the interior. So let's have a look at the interior. Now you can see how clean the interior looks. It's got the red accents, the red highlights, the red everything. And look at the dashboard, bare bones. You know, it's just used, I just use like multiple clips and bars, just because I want to replicate the real dashboard. It's not really a dashboard on the real car, but it's a dashboard that just makes the Sesto Elemento unique. It just makes it so unique. Yeah, you can see that these are the slope pieces that go into the front of the car, which we will get to here in a second. But look at the mirror design too. You can see that I use rigid hose and minifig hands to replicate the real mirror on the real car. And the real mirror on the real car, it goes from the door, and then you have a mirror there, and then the other part of the mirror just tapers back into the A pillar of the vehicle, which is pretty unique to say the least. Now, before we continue, I do want to show you some obvious features on the car, which is the custom wheels, bumping the camera, which is the custom wheels for the Sesto Elemento, designed by Brick the Brick. He did an excellent job with customizing these wheels for the Sesto Elementos, and they just make the car like really stand out, especially in a Lego format. I was going to use like original Speed Champions wheels, but I didn't think those wheels would do this car any justice. So I went out and reached out to him, and he did an excellent job with designing these wheels. So I will leave a link to his website and his Instagram page down in the description below. Did you know that there are only 20 Sesto Elemento cars in the entire world? Lamborghini, who joined up with Boeing to create this unique masterpiece, have only produced 20 models in the entire globe. That makes this car like ultra rare. If I happen to see one in real life, I will just be like really glad to see it. As it stands now, this is the rarest Lamborghini car. Well, not really the rarest Lamborghini out there. There's like a bunch of, not a bunch, but like a handful of coach build Lamborghini cars that are on the road. Not really on the road. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm discombobulated. There's like this Egoista, which is a one-off car. And then there's like another car from Lamborghini that I forgot the name to. It's another one-off car, and I'm gonna be building that in the future. So keep your eyes out for that. Now we'll get to the front of the vehicle, which is the icing on the cake. You can see that I use like these new slope pieces, the slope tile pieces that are modified. They're like those little pieces, but they removed the 1x1 tile piece and kept the other side. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's the image to show you what I mean. It looks like the piece that was originally designed in this way, and then Lego just decided to cut it in half. And then you can look at the front. You can see I used some more rigid hoses because I ran out of space again to cover up the gaps, and there's no other piece to do that. So I had to use rigid hoses to cover up the gaps. And you can see that I use like the thin ring. Lego used to produce these 1x1 plate pieces with those thin rings on them, but they stopped producing them in 1989, which is unfortunate, but I guess they had other pieces that was gonna replace the thin ring piece, which is this thick one, which I don't like on the Lamborghini Sesto Elemento because it just makes the car wide bodied. It just really makes the car stand out, just having these headlights built in that way and just having them brick built instead of just using stickers. I didn't want to use stickers. Actually, in fact, I don't really like using stickers on all of my cars because it's just like, I guess that's just me. I don't like the sticker headlights or the tail lights, so I go out of my merry way to just brick build them if it's possible. So yeah, I mean, it's black. That's unfortunate. They do have it in gray, but I think the gray will just make the car, it will just become an eyesore. So I just went with black because it's easy to camouflage it against the dark bluish gray. And yeah, I went with it. And you can see that I finished off the bottom part of the car with some more flag pieces, which is, you know, given the fact that the car sits very low, I just decided to use flag pieces to just finish off the front, because why not? It was a great idea because now it makes the car look like a Sesto Elemento. It looked kind of weird at first as I was building it along the way, but it just makes the car look like a Sesto Elemento. The front piece right here is removable, so to remove it, there's like a little, right up the camera, there's like a little slope piece right here. You just push on it very gently now, just my camera, damn it, and it just pops right off. Now, Honestly, I don't know if the real car does that, but I just decided to include that feature. So you want to see how the headlights are connected, or if you want to go in and fix something because the model, you know, is so fragile and you were a little rough with it and you broke something, then you can just take the whole piece off. This is a 2-piece assembly. So this is the front here, and this is the back, and you can see how all this is connected. It's a very, very complicated assembly, and it's a bit loose and fragile, so you have to be very, very careful with it. In fact, the Sesto Elemento itself is half sturdy, half fragile. So with that being said, I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, the wedge pieces, the new wedge pieces that are coming out in dark blue is great. I hope will be the ones that are going to be replacing the studded pieces, which again will maximize the level of detail on the Sesto Elemento, and it would just be so awesome to see those wedge pieces just being there without those studs. Now that we've gotten through with the showcase, it's now time to give my NFS score. So the detail on the car is extreme. I've pushed it to the limit, just going as far as making sure that the seats are fixed in place, creating a dashboard using a lot of bar pieces, making sure that the engine detail has a bit of red highlights, a little bit of silver accents into them because it's an engine base, so why not include the silver accents into them? And it's very, very complicated. The goal of this build was to replicate the car as much as possible. If necessary, push it to the brink to where I maximize the level of creativity using rigid hoses and stuff. So the car is very extreme in detail. So I'm going to give this a score of 7.9 on the detail scale, meaning that the car is very, very detailed, but you know, it can be a building experience for any builder. It can be, you know, enjoying for the builder, or it can be annoying for the builder. It just depends. For the durability, as far as I'm concerned, it's a 50-50. The car is not very sturdy. It is not very stable in some areas. If you touch some areas on a car, like the bumper back here, for an example, it will come off. So I'm gonna give it a score of 5.5 on the durability scale. Not too sturdy, not too fragile. So now what is the score on the building difficulty? To be honest with you, I'm going to give it a 9.5. That means it's very, very difficult to build this car. You're gonna have to cut the hoses to a certain length to have this C-pillar taper down into the engine bay. You're gonna have to cut rigid hoses to have it at a certain length to create these mirrors. You're gonna have to cut tiny pieces of rigid hoses to connect the spoiler and to attach the connection point for the spoiler in the back. Cutting some more rigid hoses to attach this triangular tile piece into place to hold it in place, because you know it's got a vent feature and I want to include the vent feature. So there's a lot of difficult parts on the car that's going to require a lot of time, attention to detail, and a lot of patience if you have any. Actually, scratch 9.5, 9.7 at this point, because of how many times you're gonna have to cut rigid hoses and how many times you're gonna have to make connection points that are otherwise difficult. And that's including cutting rigid hoses to fill in these little 1x2 round plates with holes in them, just so you can have those red accents on the real car. I'm serious, this is not for the average builder. These cars and the cars that I'm building going forward are meant for true car builders. Like if you want the level of detail, like having an engine bay underneath the chassis of the vehicle where you see all those little pipes and stuff, like on a truck for an example, or if you want to see door handles in the vehicle, which I'm also including that as part of my signature build for these cars going forward. In fact, I will go out of my way to say this is not for the builders who would be building the cars and just call it done and then just play around with it. These are cars for people who are true car builders and car enthusiasts who enjoy the extreme or moderate level of detail in a car, whether it's the engine bay, the interior, the exterior, the aesthetic of a car. Just a warning for you guys going forward. So with that being said, it's now time for me to showcase my second Sesto Elemento variant. And this is going to be the 2012 Lamborghini Sesto Elemento speed enforcement police vehicle, which is a tier 4 level for the Seacrest County Police lineup. Yes, I'm a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit fanatic, so I will be building more of my Need for Speed police vehicles. For some reason, the livery on this police car looks a lot better than the original Sesto Elemento. Maybe it's because of the color scheme on both of these cars, but the car itself, it just looks really, really unique with the red accents going against the black and white. This one shares the exact same building difficulty as the original one. These cars will be available as a dual instruction pack, or if you want to get individual instructions for each one, they will be available as well. Thus concludes the showcase for both of my 2012 or 2011 Lamborghini Sesto Elemento MOCs. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring a bell for notifications, share this video out there, and hit the road.